Oh no. Oh dear. Inviting release. And take a moment to notice the contact between the back of your pelvis and the mat beneath you. Encouraging perhaps more of a sense of weight, of heaviness of the pelvis. You might be aware that there's a little bit more weight, or you feel more firmly connected through one side than the other. That's totally normal, totally okay. And then starting to engage those deeper lower abdominals, so the space between the palms of your hand, between your hip bones, the sense of it slightly sort of squeezing, hugging in, and being drawn ever so slightly upwards to help stabilize and support the low back. And then with that support switched on, gently lifting one foot and then the other. And it doesn't need to be huge movements, though they might be. You're welcome to explore taking big movements. But the focus not so much on the movement itself, but on that support around the low abdominals. So trying to make sure that you're maintaining that sense of squeeze. And if it's a little bit challenging to connect with that area at the front of the pelvis, in those lower, deeper core abdominals, then think more of drawing your belly button back towards your spine and up towards the chin. So not forcing the low back to be completely flat, but just finding a sense of support. Try and make sure you're not clenching your jaw, and to maintain softness sort of really everywhere else through the body if possible. And then start to bring the feet up to a tabletop position. So that's knees roughly stacked over hips, shins parallel-ish to the floor. And again, check in with that support. Space between the hip bones, gently hugging in, slightly drawing upwards. From here, you're going to start to make circles with your right leg. So you're thinking of rotating at the hip, maintaining your support. If that feels like it's a bit too much, then bring your left foot down to the mat. So trying to make sure with those movements in the right leg that the body isn't rocking, you're not kind of falling from side to side. If you want to sort of challenge yourself a little bit further, then you can challenge yourself to make those circles bigger and slower. The more you slow it down, the less you're relying on kind of momentum, on just swinging the leg around. So you're really asking all those connective tissues, all those muscles around the hip joint to engage and carry, draw the hip around in that circular action. You change direction, check in with your support, low belly, check in with any tension. And for me, I always will talk about probably jaw and shoulders, because I know that for me, those are places that I really hold them. It might be somewhere slightly different for you. We're coming back to center, and same thing on the other side. So stabilizing, low abdominals, hugging in, and then starting to circle the left leg. If you want, you can always explore some slightly different movements. They don't have to stay as circles. Again, you've got options to make it slightly easier. Your option would be to keep your movements small with the left leg and to place the right foot down on the floor to help add a little bit of extra stability, bit less work for the abdominals. To make it harder, bigger movements with the left leg, slower movements. Changing direction if you haven't already done so. And again, gently coming back to center, placing both feet down on the floor, walk them towards the outer edges of your mat, so feet a bit wider than hip distance, drop the knees over towards the left-hand side. With the knees over towards the left, you're gently going to squeeze the right hip or the right butt cheek essentially up and forwards, and then relax it back down. So right side of the pelvis is squeezing forwards, lifting slightly away from the mat, and then releasing back down. If there's any discomfort in your knees, firstly make sure the feet are flexed. That's pulling the toes up towards the shin, and maybe think of slightly pressing the feet down into the floor. So you're creating a bit of activity, again, a bit of support for the knees. Switching sides, so knees come through center, over to the right. So it's going to be the left side this time that's squeezing forwards and releasing back down. So it's kind of squeezy, steady pulse. Hopefully as you press that hip forwards, you'll feel a bit of extra stretch through that left hip, maybe through the left thigh. Again, just be mindful of your knees. Knees are a bit of a design flaw in my opinion. They tend to be a little bit sensitive. It's always worth watching out for that. If anything makes your knees grumble, back off or just give it a miss. And coming back to center again, switch on your support and bring the legs back into your tabletop position. So knees above the hips, shins roughly parallel to the floor. So again, you're going to flex your feet, so pull the toes towards the shin, and you're going to find a figure 4 shape or an outer hip or glute stretch. So that your right ankle is going to cross over the top of your left thigh. Keep the arms relaxed on the floor and take a moment to pause there. Switch on that support in the abdominals again, and maybe slightly squeeze the right knee away from your face. Make sure the shoulders are relaxed, the arms are comfortable. And then you're going to circle this whole shape. Again, nice and slow. Trying to maintain support. So hopefully, even if your circles are small, as the legs move slightly further away from your chest or from your torso, you'll feel the abdominals working harder. Changing direction. You might be aware perhaps of muscles of the legs, maybe sort of the thighs are helping out with this action. And the pelvis might be slightly rocking one side to the other. That's fine as long as it's controlled, so it's not kind of, you're not sort of falling. Coming back to center, so after that active mobility, taking it into something more passive. So your right arm is going to reach through that window between your two thighs. Left hand's going to come around, maybe catching hold of the fingertips. You can relax here, relax the shoulders if that's available. You're welcome to add in a hamstring stretch, extending the left leg up towards the ceiling. If you feel like your head and shoulders are really lifted off, you can either stay here if it feels all right for you, again make sure abdominals are pulling in, or release the arms again. Allow the upper body to relax if that's more comfortable. Keep this shape with the legs. Release your hands if they were clasped and bring the sole of the left foot down to the floor. So you've got still got that figure 4 position with the legs. We're going to take a twist. Keep that contact of right ankle to left thigh. Keep the space, that window between your two legs as you find your twist. The sole of the right foot is coming to the floor to your left. Now for this particular twist, we don't want the right knee to be drawing up towards the chest or over towards the floor, but rather pressing it up towards the ceiling and slightly away from you. If you're someone that has a lot of space here and you don't really feel it, to make it a bit more intense, take that left thigh and shimmy it higher up towards your chest, and then again press that right knee away. And if it's helpful, as you breathe out, wherever you feel this, so perhaps through that right side of the hip, right side of the body, as you breathe out, imagine those fibers releasing. Picture them maybe getting longer, if that's helpful. You're going to come back to center. Switch the legs, so from that tabletop position, feet flexed, helping to support the knees. Left ankle over right thigh this time. Trying to gently open up that left hip, squeeze the left knee away from you. Making sure you've got some support as you start to circle the whole shape. And notice perhaps if you feel like there are some parts of that circle that happen quite easily, where you feel like you've got some room, you've got some space to move. And there might be some parts where you feel that there's a little bit of restriction. Does it feel like there's a bit of muscular tightness there? It could come from a slight reduction in strength in that area, that those fibers aren't able to carry the shape or carry the legs to that portion of the circle. Changing direction. And making sure there's some support, nice and slow with those circles if you can. And again, coming back gradually to center. Making it a bit more passive, left arm through the gap, through the window, right arm comes around the back of the right thigh into your more passive hip opener. You can stay here. Again, you can add in a hamstring stretch. Try and relax your jaw, try and relax your shoulders, try and encourage the body to be soft and heavy. Definitely breathing. Great, and keeping that figure 4 shape, release the hands if they're clasped. Right foot comes down to the floor. You should still have this nice window between your two thighs as you take your twist. So the sole of the right foot, sorry, the sole of the left foot, my mistake, is coming to the floor on your right hand side. If possible, keeping the shoulders or the shoulder blades sort of softened, flatter onto the floor, pressing the left knee away from you. So to make it stronger, to make it a bit more intense, be careful not to push it into a place that creates tension in your body, but to make it stronger, left knee up towards the ceiling, or you can shift the whole shape, so if you're moving your right thigh more up towards your chest or your shoulders. To make it a little bit less intense, take the shape a little bit longer, so the right thigh moving further away from your body and allowing that top knee to sort of soften towards the floor a touch. And again, when you're ready, coming back to center, come back to that tabletop position. Take a little moment, with or without hands, to just circle the hips. So with the hands, it's going to be a bit more passive. You're using the arms to help sort of pull the legs around. More active, obviously no hands. Come back to your tabletop position. Switch on your support. Again, we're not trying to force the low back to be flat, but a gentle, firm, that's a contradiction, but hopefully you know what I mean. A firm but gentle support maybe. And then taking some toe taps. So taking right foot down and coming back to that tabletop position, and then left foot down, coming back to your tabletop position. Again, try and really, really slow it down. Really take your attention to that space between the hip bones and those low abdominals. Feel them working. Again, to intensify it, to make it harder, you can take the feet further away from you, but try not to completely extend the legs. So we don't want to sort of take too much into the hip flexor. Keep a little bend. So hopefully that will allow or encourage your lower abdominals to really work a little bit harder. If you really are feeling in the mood for something even more than that, you can always go both legs together. Do take a breather if you need to. Keeping that action hugging in, lightly drawing up of the abdominals between space between the hip bones or belly button into spine up towards chin. And then when you're ready, coming back to center, once again, take the feet up towards the ceiling, but keep the knees bent. A few circles of the ankles. Again, try and slow them down and try and be quite conscious of the circles and quite accurate with your circles as well. Changing direction. And even though I say try and be quite accurate, you might notice that a perfect circle is, I'm going to throw it out there, not very possible. Get back to center, gently kicking the heels down to the bum for a moment, and then you're going to bring yourself up to all fours. So option one would be to take a few rocks up and down the spine. If that's not comfortable, then just roll into one side, bringing yourself up any way you like, and finding an all fours position. Hands slightly further forward and slightly wider than the shoulders, and then you're going to circle the hips around the mat a few times. So trying to sort of really get into not just the hips, but the shoulders, the spine as well. Changing direction. Again, make sure you're breathing, coming back to center. Make sure your toes are tucked underneath as you press the hips back towards the heels. A few baby waves. So that's rounding, chin on your chest. Think about your cat pose as you shift forwards. And then allowing the back to arch, lifting the sit bones as they press back towards the heels. So again, rounding, chin on the chest as you come forward, tummy really pulling in. Then lifting the sit bones, allowing the back to arch as you press hips towards heels. So a few more of those, trying to create a waving, hence the name, rippling, kind of rolling action in the spine. They don't need to be massive, so if you feel like it's a lot of hard work, just check that you're not bringing the chest too far forward. So we're not necessarily looking for a big press up here. The shoulders are only going to come sort of over the wrists and then pressing back from there. But when you feel ready, instead of pressing the hips back towards your heels, you're going to press the hips up into a downward facing dog. So take a bit of time here to ease your way into your downward facing dog. So instead of just locking everything out, maybe relaxing the knees, allowing the hips to sway, maybe bending one knee, bending the other. Again, if it's tight in your low back or tight through the hamstrings, I would definitely encourage you to work with a bend in the knees and a lift beneath the heels. And of course, if this is something that feels quite good for you, that you're more familiar with, then of course feel free, engaging the abdominals, lifting the sit bones a little higher, maybe straightening the legs and sending the heels a little more downwards. Okay, so from here, you're going to come forward to a high plank position. So the shoulders are stacked over the wrists, readjust the hands, readjust the placement of the feet if you need to. Excellent. If you need to, bring the knees down to a 3/4 plank position. And if possible, instead of looking down towards your mat, looking slightly forward and trying to encourage the shoulder blades slightly down the back of the body so the neck is long and free. Give the head a gentle turn, right side, left side. And then from here, bringing the knees down, again, looking forward. Elbows hug in as you slowly ripple down onto your tummy. Beautiful. All right. So you're on your tummy, legs are nice and long, hands a bit further forwards, maybe a bit wider than your shoulders. Again, this will vary depending on what feels good for you. But as you breathe in, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chest, little cobra. And as you breathe out, releasing back down. Check in with that support, low belly. Inhale to lift and exhale to release. Trying to encourage that lift to come, from the abdominals, but more from the back of the body than from the arms. So if it's feeling good, you can try hovering your hands. Chances are your lift then will be much lower. That's okay, because we're working on that active strength in the back of the body, active mobility, as opposed to passive flexibility where we'd be kind of hanging out in the shoulders, using the arms to press, to push the body into a position. But when you feel like you've had enough of that, then the hands will come down and you're going to make your way back into a child's pose. So hips towards your heels, arms maybe staying extended, or of course, bending the elbows, resting on the forearms, if that's a bit more comfortable. Thinking of the bum being really heavy, and to release the sit bones, release the pelvis down onto the heels. Starting to make your way back into a downward facing dog once again. So lifting the hips, tucking the toes, hands firmly pressing forwards as the hips reach back. Particularly if this is a newer shape for you, I'd like you to try and focus on this opening up through the lats and through the shoulders. So instead of the shoulders being over the wrists, really trying to lengthen, create a long diagonal from the fingertips, shoulders way behind and hips way behind that. Okay, coming forwards to your high plank once again. Again, high or 3/4 plank, make sure you're using your glutes, so your bum is squeezing, your abdominals are squeezing. You're going to take 3 press-ups of your choice. So you can always take the hands wider and allow the elbows to move wide. We don't have to go chest to floor, though of course you can if you want to. I'd like you to really focus on maintaining a strong plank line through the body. Once you've done 3, take it back into a downward facing dog. And then from there, either stepping, if you're in the mood for a jump, I feel like it's a bit early for me this morning, but stepping or tiptoeing the feet to the top of your mat to find a forward fold. Right. So if you prefer to practice your forward fold with the feet together, go for it. I tend to take mine with the feet about hip distance apart. Again, depends on what you're in the mood for. If you want something a bit softer, really bend the knees, you can go kind of ragdoll, maybe holding the elbows, having a little sway. If you're in the mood for something a bit stronger this morning, then take that option. Maybe the legs becoming a little bit straighter. You can always go for a bind, but just be mindful of how your body is kind of easing into your practice. So yes, you can let your mind set your intention, but don't let it drown out any signals you might be getting from the body that you're working with. When you're ready, coming up to standing, again, you can either bend the knees, roll up, you can take a flat back all the way up. Again, depends what you're feeling. Give the body a little shake out. Adjust your leggings if you need to. All right. And again, come to a comfortable standing position. Feet not too close, so a sort of relaxed standing position. Warming up the shoulders. Warm up the shoulders more. Backs of the hands are going to meet, fingertips pointing down to the floor. And you're going to press the hands slightly in towards each other as the hands draw up towards the chin or the face. And then open the arms out wide. You're squeezing the elbows back. Palms are up as you open the arms. Then you do it again. So as the backs of the hands come forward, the shoulders are rolling forward as well. Pressing in, drawing up, and then the shoulders are really going to open as the arms come wide and behind you. Couple more times. Try and again maintain some stability around the low back. So we're not allowing everything to get too kind of loosey-goosey. Bit of support, particularly as the chest opens. Make sure the bum is just lightly squeezing. One more time, just for good measure. Good, and shimmy it off. We're going to take one more sort of active shoulder warm up. So again, from a comfortable standing position, arms long. So try and think that you're trying to take your fingertips as far away from the shoulders as you possibly can. Palms are facing in. Take the arms back behind you. The higher you try and take those arms, the more I'd like you to check in, again with that support of the abdominals and perhaps your glutes as well. Try and take the fingertips further away from your shoulders, further away from your body. Try and lift the hands higher. Maybe roll the shoulder blades in, back, down. Squeeze the arms in towards each other. Don't let the hands touch. And lift them up higher. It should be hard work. Keep taking arms longer, more in, more up. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And release. Get the shoulders roll. Well done. Make sure you breathe. I was just holding my breath. Terrible. Come towards the top of your mat. Take the arms all the way up. In the air, you're welcome to keep the arms separate. You can, of course, interlace the hands, lengthen, or hold on to opposite wrists. Just a little moment to really find some space and some length through the sides of the body, through the shoulders, and then you're going to take it into a forward fold again when you're ready. Again, if this is a place that's quite tight for you, bend your knees. Give yourself a bit of slack, a bit more space as the hands or the fingertips find the floor. You're going to step your left leg back and put the knee down. From here, lifting the body, and we want a fairly short lunge to begin with. So making sure, excuse me, the hips are sort of stacked above the left leg. Bring your right hand to your right thigh and take your left arm up into the air. Think of squeezing your outer hips in towards each other. Again, abdominals are working. And there's a sense of lift as well. So creating an in and up action, not just in the abdominals, but from the hips as well. And then you're going to take a side bend over towards the right leg. Adding in, if it's there for you, a gentle tilting and tucking of the pelvis of the tailbone. So we want this position to feel quite active, quite controlled, whether you're staying just in that side bend or whether you're adding your tilt and your tuck. So from here, you're going to bring your left hand down to the floor or to any kind of block or book or elevation that you may have, and then lift the right arm towards the ceiling so you're in a twist. If it's okay for your neck, look up towards your right fingertips. If you want to make it stronger, you can tuck your back toes and lift that back knee away from the floor. Good. Try and make sure you're pushing the floor away with the left hand. Excellent. Releasing both hands down to the mat. Tuck your back toe, lift the knee. You're going to step your left leg forwards to come back into your fold at the top of your mat. From there, stepping the right leg back, dropping the knee down, lifting the body. If it feels wobbly, make sure your feet aren't too sort of narrow. Take that left foot out a bit wider, squeezing in and up, left hand to left thigh, right arm rises, and you're leaning towards your front leg. Not passive, not dangly, not droopy, active, in, up, over. You can stay here, or again, adding a little tilt and a little tuck of the pelvis, of the tailbone. And hopefully, it might be really, really subtle, but if you're adding in those pelvic adjustments, you'll feel just a slight change, a slight shift in what you're feeling, where you're feeling that stretch. So bearing in mind, it might not always be a really loud, really obvious change, so you might have to really pay attention. All right, let's come back and bring your right hand down to the floor or to your prop. Left arm lifts. So it's really easy here in a twist with the shoulders to roll forward and for you to suddenly have no neck. So try and make sure the shoulders are rolling back or opening up. Neck is long towards the front of your mat. You can always add in, pressing the floor away through the right hand. Maybe think of the left hand floating. Or again, from those low abdominals, in and up through the spine, so the spine is lengthening. You bring the left hand back down. Again, you're going to tuck the back toe, lift the knee, using the abdominals to help step the right foot forwards. From here, coming all the way up to standing, arms are going to float up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in at the top, use a breath out to find your forward fold once again. Hands can stay on the floor, or you can bring your hands to the fronts of your shins. You're going to take a few rounds of flat back. So as you breathe in from the low belly, from the base of the spine, that breath is going to lengthen the spine forward. Press the hands back into the shins if they're there, and breathe out to release, to relax. And again, from the low belly, inhale, lengthens, reaches the spine, the crown of the head forwards. Exhale to release, relax. Any pressure on the low back, just hang out in a position that feels comfortable, whether that's a fold or a supported position. One more time, if you're lifting, breathing in to lift, lengthen, breathing out to release, hands to the floor, and let's everyone take it back into a downward facing dog. And if that's a bit awkward, you can always bring the knees down first. It doesn't matter how you get to these places, as long as you arrive there eventually. Coming forward into a high or three-quarter plank. Any dipping, any collapsing around the low back, definitely bring the knees down for 3 press-ups. Again, elbows can go narrow. You can reset the hands. Take your press-ups in another way. Keep the whole line of the body nice and strong, nice and tight. And gradually taking it back to a downward facing dog. Alright. From your down dog, you're going to lift your right leg. So left leg might have a bit of a bend in it. Maybe some space under that left heel. Make sure the arms are really strong. Bend your top right knee. Really find some support from the abdominals. And make circles with that right leg, right hip. Circles could be figure of 8s, could be just some general waggling. And if you can, slow it down. The arms should be working hard. Abdominals should be working hard. And then nice and slow, step your right foot to the top of your mat. From there, you're going to bend your back knee just a little bit and think of releasing the weight of your body down into the floor so you can push through both feet, she says, nearly falling over, to rise up into your high lunge. Arms reaching up towards the ceiling. You're going to take a 45-degree reach forward. So pressing the back leg to straight, reaching from the hips, the arms extending. You go one straight line from that back left heel all the way through the body to the tips of the fingers. Keep breathing, pull the tummy in. From here, press down through your right foot, come to balance, left knee in towards your chest. Just for good measure, do that one more time. Outer hips hug in, bend your standing leg as the left leg reaches back, the spine, maybe the tips of the fingers are reaching forwards. Gently, left foot finds the floor, little pause. And again, press down through your right foot. That's going to help to activate right hamstring and right glute as you come to your balance. Excellent. Keep the left leg lifted. Take the arms back behind you. Abdominals pulling in. You're going to find that active sort of shoulder opener, or I'm just going to call it putting on your cape. So arms are long, roll the shoulders back, take them in, take them up, the hands are not touching. Pull the tummy in more, maintain that activity through the shoulders as you start to come into a warrior three. Now you'll notice, or you might notice, you probably not because it's a very small video, but I'm bending my right knee to come into my warrior three. Once I find that shape, maybe then I can think of stretching or straightening that right leg by pushing the floor away. Now your challenge from here is to slowly bend your right knee. Keep pressing left leg back, crown of head forwards. Slowly lower your left toes to the back of your mat. Bring your left hand down to the front of your mat. You're opening into a twist, right arm nice and wide. If you need to, you can always put that back knee down like we did a little bit earlier on. Shoulders drawing down the back of the body, pressing away through the left heel if the left knee is lifted. Crown of head forwards. You plant the right hand, step back to your downward facing dog. You can stay in your down dog, you can come down and take a breather. If you want to take a vinyasa, feel free to take a vinyasa. So if anyone is curious, again, we will actually work this properly, maybe for the next sequence, but coming forwards to a high plank. You can stay on the toes or the knees as you bend the elbows, lower the chest. Rolling the shoulders back either to a low cobra as the chest lifts, or an up dog, and back into your downward facing dog. Once you are in your down dog, arms strong, abdominal strong, left leg is given lift. So the three-legged dog. So make sure that this position first feels supported. So again, you might want to slightly bend your supporting right leg. It may feel better for you to straighten it, but just watch out that it's not putting pressure on the knee. Bend your top left leg and start to make circles at the hip. Focusing on support, so are the abdominals helping? Really, really pushing the hands down into the floor, trying to send the hands forwards. Abdominals working. Make sure you're breathing, and then nice and slow when you're ready, guys. Well done. Step the left foot to the top of your mat. Bend the back knee, so you're releasing the weight of the body down into the legs. Push the floor away through the feet, so you hopefully will feel your bum working as you rise up into your high lunge. Again, from the hips, reaching forward. So I'm pressing my back leg to straight, reaching forward through the spine and forward through the tips of the fingers. If that feels a bit much, bring the hands to the hips, or maybe hands to the head. Pull the tummy in. And then from here, press down through your left foot as you come to find your balance, right knee towards your chest. And again, nice and steady, bend that standing leg, go back into your high lunge, reaching forward as the right leg reaches back, outer hips, squeezing in. Find that lunge, find that reach. And one more time, don't be in a rush to straighten your left leg because that action will throw your weight backwards. We want to think of the weight of the body coming forwards. You're shifting the weight into that left foot, keeping the knee bent, probably until quite near the end as you find your balance. Okay, from here, put your cape on. Arms come back, shoulders roll back. Nice and strong through the abdominals. Arms are long, they lift, they squeeze in, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit more in. Warrior three. Pressing the right leg back. Sending the crown of the head forwards. Support from the abdominals. Breathing. Doesn't matter if both legs are straight or both legs are slightly bent. Even if they're bent, they're still active. And then again, slowly, really bend the left leg. Don't let your chest or your arms or your back legs sink down towards the floor. Still think of lifting and lengthening. But eventually the right toes will find the floor, back of the mat, and the right hand will find the floor, front of the mat. And twisting, lifting the left leg from the low belly, drawing in and up, lengthening through the spine. Neck is free and easy. Breathing. And then planting, the left hand down, stepping back to your downward facing dog. Again, you can stay in your down dog. You can take a child's pose or moving it through your vinyasa, coming to your plank. Taking your chaturanga or your knees, chest, chin, into your back bend of choice, and back into your down dog. In fact, everyone, let's just come down to a child's pose for a moment. Knees down, hips to heels, little breather. Again, feel free to be up on the forearms or resting on the forearms if that's more comfortable. But wherever you are, close your eyes. Try and steady your breathing. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose or the mouth. Calming your mind. So if you notice that your mind is going a million miles an hour, oh God, have we got to do it again? What's coming next? Whatever it is, try and calm your mind. The more we can calm that noise and that movement of the mind, the easier, perhaps, that standing flow will be. So we're going to take it again. We're going to move through it a little bit quicker. We're going to add some bits onto the end. So when you're ready, coming up into a downward facing dog and connecting with your breathing. So once you're in that downward facing dog, really paying attention to your breath. So we're going to try and move with your breathing. So if your breathing is very shallow or very quick, it's going to make it much harder for you. So courage, try and work for a slower, calmer breath. All right. Here we go. So from your downward facing dog, use an in breath to float your right leg into the air and an out breath to step it to the top of your mat. Bend your back knee. Use an in breath to rise into your high lunge and an out breath to stay there. An in breath to reach forwards, kicking your way through the back heel, and an out breath to stay. Pull the tummy in. Inhale to find your balance, left knee to your chest. Out breath, put on your cape, arms long. In breath, moving through into your warrior three. Stay there, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. Instead of allowing the low back to arch, draw the low ribs in, hug the low belly, and good, really press that back heel away. Come back to that balance. So you're coming to standing left knee towards your chest. Little bend in your standing leg. That's not a softening, a collapsing. Still with control, little bend. Pull the tummy in, try and lift your left thigh higher. As you breathe in, try and take the left heel further away from you. As you breathe out, release back in. And again, in breath, lengthens. Pull the tummy in more, press down through the right leg. Exhale to release. Try and keep your left thigh up as high as you can. Inhale, lengthen. That will make it harder to straighten your leg. Exhale, release. One more time. Inhale, straighten with control. Exhale to release. Take that left foot back behind you. Don't hold on to it. If you need a breather, take one. Otherwise, active dancer's pose. So left heel is squeezing up towards your bum. Left hand is reaching back, palm turned outwards, but don't catch your foot. From here, you're going to try and take your left thigh back behind you. You're going to try and squeeze your left heel further into your bum. You're going to try and reach your left arm further back towards the foot, but don't catch it. Keep trying to lift the thigh, squeeze the heel, reach the arm, lift the spine. 3, 2, 1, and bring that left foot down. Shake it out. Give everything a little wiggle. Standing at the top of your mat. I'm really out of breath this morning, sorry. Standing at the top of your mat, reaching the arms high, take a breath in at the top. Use your out breath to start your forward fold. Plant your hands, step back to your downward facing dog. Feel free to throw in a vinyasa. Feel free to stay in your down dog or come down for a breather. Once you're back into your down dog, finding a steady breath, and give yourself time to move. Don't panic. Try and encourage the mind to be a little quieter. If that's necessary, use an in breath to lift your left leg. And an out breath to step your left foot forward. Bend your back knee, use an in-breath to rise, high lunge, glutes are active. An out-breath to stay. Inhale, reaching forwards, back leg is long, abdominals pulling in, exhale where you are. Breathe in, find your balance, knee to chest. Breathe out, put on that cape, arms long. Use your in-breath, warrior three, that the inhale starts that movement, the extension in two directions, long spine forwards, long right leg back, breathe. Coming back to your balance, right knee in towards your chest. Right knee in towards your chest, calm, controlled. Try and bring that right knee up high to your chest. So you're engaging psoas, engaging the hip flexors to keep that leg high. Little bend in your standing knee. Core nice and strong. As you breathe in, try and lift or lengthen the right leg further. Breathe out to release. 3 more. Inhale. Keep the right thigh high. Exhale to release. 2 more. With control. Good. 1 more time. Well done, guys. Inhale. Exhale. Take that right foot back behind you. Again, maybe a little bend in that standing leg. Right leg back behind you. Right arm back. Turn the palm to face it outwards. Try and squeeze the right thigh further back. Try and squeeze the heel in towards your bum. Lengthen the abdominals, lengthen the spine. Right leg, further back, heel, further in, arm, further back, further up, spine lengthens for 3, 2, 1. Release it down. And shimmy it out. Good work, guys, okay. So let's make it a bit more passive. Active stuff, big tick, now passive. Feet. Maybe mat's width. We're going to take a forward fold. If you want to take it much wider, of course you can. This time, interlace the hands behind your back. Keeping the palms open will be a little bit softer for more of an intense kind of shoulder opener. Squeeze the heels of the hands together, lock the thumbs in. Wherever you are, roll the shoulders back if you possibly can. Little bend in the knees, forward fold. Think as you go, trying to lift your sit bones high. And release the crown of the head towards the floor. Squeeze the shoulders in, squeeze the heels of the hands in if you're going for that option, and try and encourage the hands to come over your head as if you want the knuckles to touch the floor. And bend your knees as much as you need, as much as you want. Relax the back of the neck, maybe gently turning the head like you're saying no. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw, please. Nice and soft. And then releasing the hands down to the floor. You might feel, oh, the shoulders kind of rotating in their sockets as the arms find the floor. You're going to keep your right foot at the top of your mat and step your left leg back. So you can keep your left knee lifted or bring it down to the floor. We're going to go for something a little more passive, though not completely passive. So hands either on the floor or again on a block, or even on a chair, on a sofa, still squeezing my outer hips in, using my abdominals, but this time letting the hips come in much further, thinking of creating a long curve from that back foot to the front of the leg, front of the hip, and through the rest of the spine. So my hands are down, I'm not collapsing the shoulders forwards, but rather rolling the shoulders back, again trying to lengthen the spine, chest is open, neck is nice and long. Still keeping a bit of activity around the hips so we're not just dumping all of the weight down into the hip flexor. From here, taking the right foot, turning the toes out about 45 degrees. Right hand to the inside of the right thigh. So for me, I'm going to bring my hips back a bit first. Turn the toes out, right hand to right thigh as I flex the foot and roll onto the little toe edge. The sole of my foot now, instead of being on the floor, is lifted, it's pointing more forwards. And from there, I can sort of see what I want to do with the hips, how far forwards they want to come. So if I turn to face the front, instead of my front foot being parallel foot down, sole of the foot down, I turn the toes out. I've rolled with the little toe edge. Then the sole of the foot is lifted, so I'm getting a little bit more into the outer hip. Still with some support with the abdominals, through the glutes. Still breathing. Coming back onto the sole of that right foot. And you're going to maybe walk that right foot further forwards again and further out again, so giving yourself more space around the hips as you move into your lizard pose. So for some, you might be down onto your forearms. For others, you might stay on straight arms and just think of relaxing the neck and shoulders. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not about being on the forearms per se, but more about trying to encourage the body to release downwards here. So this, over time, becoming perhaps one of the most passive lunges that we'll take. Still being mindful though, if any part of your body is feeling a bit unhappy or like it's under a bit of extra stress, it's giving you any kind of feedback, pay attention to that, come out a little bit, or switch on a bit of support if your body would appreciate it. You're going to come up onto the palms of the hands. You're going to step your right foot back, maybe to all fours, maybe to a down dog, and then bring your left leg forwards. So same little lunging sequence. To begin with, we're thinking of that long curve through the front of the body, so from the back foot, all the way through the front of that leg, front of the hip flexor. Hands can be wherever you want them, whether that's raised, whether that's on the floor, but we're thinking, instead of no neck, shoulders back, neck long, spine long. So I've got some engagement happening all the way around the pelvis, the glutes, those nice low abdominals, lengthening the spine forwards, jaw is soft, neck is free and easy. Good way to check is, can I turn my head comfortably? Having the left toes out about 45 degrees. Maybe drawing the hips back a touch. Left hand, maybe to inner left thigh. As you flex the left foot, so toes towards the shin as you roll onto the little toe edge. So hopefully not collapsing or rolling too much into the side of the ankle. The flexing of the foot is going to provide that bit of extra support. And I'm quite a big fan of sort of moving within poses. Sort of rocking, or I guess it's almost like a sort of quarter circle with the hips, just to see if that helps me find a bit more ease. Or again, coming onto the sole of that left foot to give yourself more space straight away. Left foot further forwards, further out towards the side as you move into your lizard pose. So whatever variation that is, even if the arms are still straight, imagining the body being heavy. And particularly if this is not a comfortable position, what's happening with your sort of internal chat right now? What's happening with your mind? If you are in a pose and all you can hear at the moment, for example, is, oh my God, this is awful. I'm so stiff, I'm so tight. I'm really terrible at this. That is going to create tension and resistance in your body. Your mind, those kind of commentaries, those voices, not invited to this party. So all that matters is that you're breathing, trying if possible to disconnect from any kind of unhelpful, negative chat. So you can just think, okay, with the out breath, I'm going to try and find a little bit more release. Your body might not move, nothing might physically change, but if that's your intention, then you're doing great. And from here, coming back, maybe to all fours, maybe to a child's pose, maybe to a downward facing dog. Again, whatever you feel you need. Before you start to make your way, and take your time before you start to make your way to lie on your back. So from wherever you are, Coming to line your backs. And bringing the knees in towards you. In fact, sorry, can I get you back up to sitting? Sorry, I know you've just lay down. Sorry guys, come back up to sitting. Any comfortable position. Let's go for a little bit more of a shoulder opener. So let's bring, you tend to face you actually. So bring your right hand behind your back, palm facing outwards, and you're reaching the fingertips up towards the shoulder blades. So once you've found that position, just lightly draw the abdominals in. See if you could gently roll your right shoulder back or down. Maybe take a few small circles, see how that feels. Your left arm is going to make some really big circles over your head. Maybe just 2 or 3 really, really big circles. And then seeing if you can maybe find the tips of the fingers on that right hand. It doesn't matter if you're miles away. So if, for example, you're something similar to where I am now, just think of rolling the shoulders back, maybe squeezing the elbows back, and maybe lifting the chin away from the chest slightly. Of course, you can always sort of walk the hands, grab a hold of whatever you're wearing, walk the hands down. Think of breathing into the chest and the shoulders. And then as you release, give the shoulders a few rolls. Same thing on the other side, so the left hand, palm facing away from you. As you find the back of the body, whether it's low back, mid back, or fingertips up between the shoulder blades. Instead of allowing the ribs to flare, a little bit of support. Right arm is going to make really big circles overhead. And then seeing you can encourage the fingertips to meet. Again, it doesn't matter if they don't. You can hold on to your top. You can just sort of press the hand into the back of the body, or just allow it to be quite soft and passive. Shoulders slightly back, elbows slightly back, chin away from your chest. Breathing into the chest, the shoulders. Again, releasing. Bit of shifting of the shoulders. And now, I promise, coming down to line your backs. Once you get down to line your backs, bring the knees in towards the chest. And again, you can choose active, no hands, or passive with the hands, just bringing some movement into the legs and into the hips. You can circle the knees both together. Sometimes if you're using the hands can be a bit wobbly, a bit rocky and rolly. You can go knees separately. Let's take a little happy baby. So the knees are moving wide, one on either side of your body, of your rib cage, soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. So we're not looking for legs extended, a straddle position, but a 90-degree bend of the knees. If you can catch the feet, fab. If you can't, if that feels a bit much, you can either catch hold of the ankles, or you can even wrap your elbows into the backs of your knees. So you might feel that your bum is really lifted, your shoulders are really lifted, and if that's where you're at, that's fine. Lock the arms in and maybe try and encourage the chest and shoulders to relax down a little. Of course, if this is something that's quite comfortable, encouraging the shoulders to relax, the knees to soften down towards the floor. Again, wherever you are, make sure you are breathing. If you're in 110% maximum effort, it's going to be very difficult for your body to release. So dial it back maybe to 80, 70, 60% of your maximum to encourage, hopefully, a bit more room to soften. And then slowly bringing the soles of the feet back down to the floor, back down to the mat. Take a little moment to kind of wiggle or shake or stretch any part of the body that you feel needs it. And then coming back to that position with the soles of the feet planted like you were at the start of the practice. Hands resting wherever is comfortable. Maybe hands to the front of the hips as you close your eyes. And check in with the body. So gently turning the head side to side like we did at the start of the practice. Rolling across the back and the side of the head. Coming back to center. Softening the shoulders. Maybe adjusting the feet or the hips. With the eyes closed, directing some breath into the hips, into the pelvis. So the in-breath to create a little bit of space. And the out-breath to soften. In-breath to create a little space, and the out-breath to release tension. Noticing again how the back of the pelvis is making contact with your mat. Does it feel the same as it did at the start? Does it feel different? And again, that might be really subtle difference, and maybe no difference at all. Doesn't matter. Just taking a moment to ask the question. And you're welcome to stay in this position if it's comfortable, or to adjust as you move into your final Shavasana, your final relaxation. It's the most important thing, not the position that you're in, but that you're comfortable, that you're relaxed. If you prefer to sit, even sit on your sofa, then you can do that. Make sure you're warm enough. And as you find that comfortable position, releasing any control of your breath. Trying to encourage your mind to be calm. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be quiet or still. But seeing if you can become an observer of your thoughts, an observer of those movements. Try not to get too caught up in anything that might present itself. Anytime you notice that your mind has wandered, that you're engaged with something, see if you can bring your attention back to rest on your breathing, whether that's on the rise and fall of your breath, sensation. Allow your breath to be your anchor to the present moment. And starting perhaps to deepen your breathing, maybe to take some sighing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, just to begin to move your body gently, gradually, noticing how it feels to move from that place of stillness back into gentle movement. If you can feel the pull, the tug of the day ahead, see if you can just resist it, put it to one side for a moment longer. Still within your practice, trying if possible to take some of your practice with you into other parts of your day, as opposed to allowing other parts of your day to encroach in on your practice. But start to think about easing your way up to a comfortable sitting position. Take as much time as you need. If you're enjoying the Shavasana, of course, please stay. But when you do find your comfortable seat, whatever it is, again, the key word comfortable, close your eyes, just landing in a little bit of stillness, having a second to ask, how am I? How am I feeling? And to really listen to the response, whether that is physical, whether it's a mental and emotional response. Not that often that we take the time to listen to ourselves. So try and give yourself that moment, give yourself that focused attention. Taking a moment to acknowledge, hopefully, the benefits of spending this bit of time for and with yourself. Hopefully you're feeling good. Thank you very much again for joining me. Sorry about the technical issues at the start, but hopefully I will see you at 8 AM with no technical issues next week for something a little bit new. Of course, feel free to pop me an email with anything that you'd like to maybe do a bit more of if you've got any ideas. Otherwise, you'll be in for a surprise. All right.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah.